Hey everybody, welcome to the Strive Summit podcast. I'm your host Alex Hanna, and today with me I have Bob McCarter. Bob, go ahead and introduce yourself. Kind of talk about who you are, what you do, and where you're at.
Well, what we do is modeling, 3D, what I like to call virtual construction modeling. And my niche in the construction industry is customer luxury homes. I've been building luxury homes my entire life and started 50 years ago at the age of 19. Went in, thought I'd be a carpenter. And the main reason I chose that, oddly enough, is I just couldn't see myself being indoors for the rest of my life. I'm an outdoors person. And so, construction was something that I could do a job at and pursue it being outside under the sun in the weather. Just loved it. Um,
Awesome.
prob, prob,
So,
Go ahead.
so where are you at right now, Bob? You're in California, West Coast?
We're in Southern California here, born and raised here in Orange County, California. Haven't gone very far at all.
So I assume the weather's absolutely beautiful all the time.
Well, we actually had a little rain this morning, but don't tell anybody.
All right, Bob. So I have you on here because I feel like you are one of a few people that use SketchUp specifically for BIM. And I find that super interesting because SketchUp is a universal program that is or was free, now owned by, I think, Trimble does. Um,
Yeah, they charge for it now.
yeah, but it was always easy to access and easy to use, and some people learn that before they even get into the AC, and you bet on it. So what I want to know is what other cool tech are you using along with Sketchfab or SketchUp or any other like equipment out there, or anything you've
Well,
seen out of?
the equipment. I'm working with a what is it? The M1 or M2 Max MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a 27-inch monitor. I used to have an iMac, and it was nice, but I kept going back and forth when I do presentations from my computer to my desktop to my computer to my desktop, and getting things to sync. It just seemed to take too long. So I'm on the just on a laptop now. There's a couple. Actually, the best thing I use with the modeling is the Connection 3D mouse, the space
Oh, you
mouse they
use the
have.
Connex one?
That thing it saved my life. I was actually ages ago, using the mouse for everything, and I was really getting a severe case of tennis elbow. And, I came across this connection mouse, so you can orbit the drawing and zoom in and
Mm-hmm.
zoom out and everything like that real quick and easy. And it took half the load off my right arm and put it over onto my left. And yeah, that made a lot of things clear up. Another thing, tech, interestingly enough, is I'm using a Logitech vertical mouse, so that your hand is this way rather than turned flat,
Mm-hmm.
pronated in the wrong direction. And that seems to help a lot too. Um, Online, I keep all of my plans because even though I'm not in the field of modeling, I still obviously have to flip through plans.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than use paper, I'm not real good with paper. I don't know where to put it or what to do with it or how to find it. I can find anything I want on my computer. So I use an online service. I'm using PlanGrid which is now owned by Autodesk. So it's Autodesk Construction Cloud at this point. So all the plans go up there. Any notes that I make that, as I'm doing my modeling work and ferreting out issues and whatnot, they all go up into PlanGrid. And then, excuse me, my clients, I encourage them to go ahead and sign up as well, so they can kind of watch what we're doing in terms of posting up. Like, well, this doesn't look like it's going to work. They can watch that in real time almost. So
Right.
they're able to, if they can quickly provide an answer, it helps us obviously in the work we're doing during the course of the day. And if not, at least they're aware, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, AEC has done a great job with that communication. It's pretty uncommon to get owners, I would say, to sign up more rather than GCs and stuff running that. So um, I feel like how many people have you gotten to sign up just to view your progress?
Well, so many people, interestingly, because there's Builder Trend and a whole bunch of
Mm,
other things out there, right?
mhm.
So it's less, most of my work is actually for general contractors or architects,
Oh, okay.
even though it's the actual client, the person building the house,
Mhm.
that really sees the benefit from it. But I come in the door, so to speak, either through the contractor or the architect. But so many of these contractors have their own service that they use. They don't use PlanGrid or Autodesk Construction Cloud. So, it's hard to get them to sign up. So a lot of it goes back to just, creating and sending PDFs over with questions on it. It always comes down to that. It would be nice if there was some sort of universal application that would, or online service that would read
Mhm.
any and all of the different services available, but so far not the case.
So, what I really want to know, Bob, is your journey. Where did you start off with? I know you mentioned in high school you went to go be a carpenter. What got you to be a carpenter, right? Where where did you pick up SketchUp? When did you decide SketchUp was it for you? And like, how did you get into owning your own business and running your own firm?
Well, okay, that's a long story. How much time
We
do we have?
we got time.
I spent, like I say, I probably, went and joined the carpenters union locally here and was working as a carpenter out in the housing tracts for probably 15 years and just absolutely loved it. It's all piecework. So what you produce is what you get paid for. So you're
Hmm.
always looking for more efficient methods to get things done because it just means more dollars per hour for you, right?
Right, right.
And so I kind of, and I've, just really tuned me into not just doing what I'm doing, but thinking about what I'm doing, right? How am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? Is there a better way to do it all the time? And so after about 15 years, I started feeling the body giving out, particularly my back. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. So I started looking for a way. And by that time, I was already working in custom homes. I was a framing subcontractor, so building big custom homes and whatnot. So I just looked for a way to start moving up. So started working for other builders as a project manager slash superintendent
Hmm.
out on the projects. And, you know, I would always get to the point, and my story isn't unique in this regard. Everybody in that position as a field superintendent gets in that position where you run into something on the plans, you think, I don't see how that's going to go together. So you call the architect up and you go, hey, take a look at this. I need a detail for how we do this. And, a day would go by, a week would go by, a month would go by, hard to tell. They're busy too.
Hmm.
And you'd be calling them, hey, I need that detail. And you get to the point where, people don't know what to do anymore. So now your job is sitting there with nobody on it, and your clients are going, how come nobody's here? So I got to the point where I was using 2D CAD programs, and I would just draft up the detail and send it over to the architect and say, this is what I'm going to do. I need you to sign off on it. And that way I was able to continue the progress of the project.
So I have a quick question about that. So you got into CAD detailing. What made you turn to CAD? Where did you get that experience to then say, you know what, I'm going to make the detail?
It's just as a builder, right, out in the field, I'm talking with all of the other tradesmen and we're looking at how assemblies are supposed to go together. There's waterproofing and flashing to deal with, or, wood to steel, or, finishes, just, a million different things going on at any given point in time when you're
Hmm.
building a home. And, it's just like everything else in my life, it's just picked it up and started doing it and started, making mistakes and figuring my way around it and finding out. And now I'm proficient at it. And so
Yeah.
it's just, it's the lifelong thirst for knowledge, right? Just always been curious about absolutely everything that I get my hands on. I read 3-4 hours a day. Yeah, I can't learn enough. I just want to absorb knowledge about everything, not just construction, but everything. So, it's just I had a need, and the only way I could get to that end was to figure it out.
So what happened after that? How did you go from CAD detailing to the architects to sign off to getting into SketchUp?
Well, interestingly enough, when SketchUp first came out, before Google even bought it, it was a company called Atlas, right? And so it was free, like it used to be when Google had it for a long time. And I downloaded it and just started playing around with it, and was seemed kind of funky and had some quirks. Took a it was a decent learning curve, and I just started thinking to myself, all right, well, so let's see what I can do with this. So I'm starting with kind of looking at finished details, like if you got a ceiling and some beams and an opening and the cabinets, so you start modeling that in there just so you can kind of see what it's going to look like, and more importantly, show your clients what it's going to look like. Because the number of times that I've been in a meeting with the architect and the owner and the interior designer and maybe the trades, the finished carpenter or whatever, and we're talking about, I don't know, a master bathroom, fireplace mantle, whatever, and everybody's talking about all of this, and they're waving their hands in the air, and everybody's doing this, and then by the time you get it built, and the owners walk in and they go, I didn't think it was going to look like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like going, that's exactly what I came away with. So the idea of being able to create a 3D image of what it is we're doing makes it a whole lot clearer, because now you're looking at a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, when people are doing this, it's a whole lot better mode of understanding. So that was kind of where the whole SketchUp thing started. And I kind of dabbled around in it for a number of years before I got real serious with it. But then, for the work we're doing now is clear plan modeling, creating construction models of, these homes we're building. The last house I physically built, as often happens, you get, a little bit of a delay at the last minute. I think the city wanted some additional corrections from the structural engineer and whatnot. Lost about, 6 weeks or whatever. And I thought, what am I going to do with 6 weeks now? So I thought, well, you know what? Let's just model the whole darn house and see what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get a set of plans and you're starting to figure out what's going on so you can build this house, you're looking through the plans, trying to find where the holes are, or where the problems are, where the details don't work, or where the details are just missing, so that when time comes, you've already kind of crossed that hurdle and now know what you're going to do. That works real good until you get everybody on the job working, and you go in the morning, you got a line of 6 or 8 or 10, 12 people standing out your door, and they're all, hey, I got a question over here, right? And so your day kind of just goes to hell in a handbasket, so to speak. Sorry, excuse my French. But, that ability to look through the plans to ferret out the issues, right, kind of goes away, because your time is no longer really yours. So when I started doing this modeling, it was a whole game changer, because instead of looking through the plans, trying to find the problems, when you model it, now I'm looking at the problem in the model. And it's like, that's not going to work. And so you're able to go back and show people, well, here's your floor plan, here's your section, here's your architectural detail, and there's your structural detail. And when we put it all together, see it there in the modeling, you can see what the problem is. It's not going to work. And so it just, all of a sudden, it was just light bulb moment. Hey, that's a good idea. So that was kind of where I took off and started clear plan modeling. And well, the rest, as they say, is history.
So how did you, what year was that when you picked up SketchUp?
Well, originally, God, when that last had it, that had to be more than 15 years ago, I'm thinking.
So you've been in SketchUp for a while, using it.
Since it came out. I've been playing around in SketchUp and just getting better and better and better at it. And, it's interesting. I talk to architects, and everybody, seems to be so tied to Revit, not to take anything away from Revit and Autodesk and whatnot, what they got there. But, one, the learning curve is extremely steep. 2, it's really expensive. And, I have these architects ask me, well, how come you're not doing Revit? And it's just like, well, SketchUp is inexpensive. It was very simple to learn. And, I'm looking at a day myself when the paper plan just goes the way of the dinosaur. Because when you study it, and I have, it's 1,200-year-old technology. We're describing three-dimensional projects using two-dimensional tools. And it just, no, this is the 21st century. This just doesn't work, right? And so when I show these architects what I'm doing in SketchUp, they look at it and they go, huh, we're not doing that. And I go, no, you're not, are you? And, you know, so anything that they can do in Revit, I can do in SketchUp, and I can embed information in it and URL links and the whole nine yards. So, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't use it.
That's really interesting. So obviously Revit's widely accepted as like the everyone's kind of using it kind of standard thing, like AutoCAD was back in the day.
Yeah, the standard, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you make a very valid point about the price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you're out there and you're listening and you want to get into this, start looking at some other programs. There's a lot out there. I know SketchUp is definitely one of them that's more affordable. Um, I think also if you have a .edu, I believe you can get samples or free licensing for
They
Autodesk
have
and
a very cut rate.
yeah, and so take advantage of that. If you're at a college, you want to learn more about it, just sign up for your free license and just play with it. Do what Bob
It's
did,
it's
and then build a
it's
business.
it's easy enough, to get in. Obviously, like everything else, there is a learning curve. Don't think
Mhm.
there's not, but you'll get in. You'll get yourself into trouble. Spend a lot of time on the forums, because a lot of what I learned, was posting questions on the forums. Hey, I'm trying to do this, but I'm running into this problem. What's up? And somebody will just come up and say, "Oh, well, you got to do it this way instead." Oh, well, that makes sense. So you do it. And, one of the other, I think, important aspects, getting back to getting rid of a two-dimensional plans, is you can take the SketchUp model on an iPad out to the job, and now, you can see precisely how these things are supposed to go together. It's all right there. And,
Mhm.
it's the wave of the future. At some point, plans are just, yeah, forget it.
Right. So you're opening up SketchUp on a tablet to view SketchUp, right?
Absolutely.
Or yeah, or using
Absolutely. Done.
AEC for that.
Well, and so done properly, like I'm once I got the model created for the plans and we get through and we sort out all the different little problems and whatnot, you know, not to sound like big headed about it or anything, but I know more about the project at that point than everybody else combined. And so I'm working with the site superintendent project manager out there. He's got the model on the iPad, and so he'll call me up and he goes, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out my pockets here in the framing in the master bedroom here. What
Mm-hmm.
do I need to know?" He's got it on the iPad. I pull it up on the computer. I'm looking at it. You got these tags now, not layers, but you got these tags on and these tags off. So we're focusing on what you're looking at there. You see right there, this is what we need to do. And so it's real easy to walk them through it, and they get a very clear picture of it as well.
Wow. So yeah, I kind of have the same idea that you have. Is we've been using this drafting process, and I think more of submittals to like state and counties and stuff. Is there's this process that we always had to print a 2D document or a set of PDFs of 2D prints to that foundation or organization to then check off and find mistakes. And
Mm-hmm.
you're correct. Like the 3D model, you when you're modeling it and you're focused on it, you kind of have. Does it sound kind of great? I mean, you're intimate with everything that's going on in the model. You've placed everything in
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And so you know what's around every curve and what's behind every piece of drywall and where things are coming up. And especially for MEP, I know you do architectural and kind of like, hey, architect, did you mean it for to look like this? I've definitely handled situations like that where there was, I think it was an outlet above the countertop, and it was right underneath the cabinet, but it was a specific call out on a print, and we're like, "Are you sure you want it here?" And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that looks way off." I'm like, "Yeah, we should probably. Where do you want to put it now?" Kind of give them an idea of it. So no, I love that idea of eventually. I think drawings paper is going to go away. I remember
It
submitting
has
to
to.
yeah, I remember submitting to the state. What was it, Washington? I think it was Washington, and I had to print the copy out and put it in a big envelope and mail it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so So there's a lot of things out there that I think, those are all state kind of driven and what they want to do. Some states are ahead. I know Wisconsin's kind of putting BIM out there, saying I think so big or whatever type of projects have to be BIM now. Um,
Hmm.
there's a lot of companies that are forcing it out. A lot of them are using Revit. So how do you combat that? I know you're doing high end luxury, but when people say they're doing Revit, how do you say you're going to use SketchUp instead?
Well, there is definitely some convincing that needs to go on, but
Mm-hmm.
generally, if I can get them to the point where we're doing a Zoom meeting and I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually showing them the model I'm creating and what we're doing with it and the information that I'm embedded in it, if I get them to that point, it's no longer a hard sell. It just they don't realize, I think, that the capabilities of SketchUp. They really just don't realize it. They think
Mm-hmm.
everybody's into this parametric thing, but the truth of the matter is with the extensions that you can use in SketchUp, it's parametric.
Yeah.
So you can create a stud wall, change the height, change the length, change the opening, move the opening. It's all right there. And it's you know again, I've never seen anything I can't do with it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also the information that I develop in the models I'm making, I don't really need to translate that to the point where it can go back into the architect's file. Right? He doesn't need that in his. The architect's looking at it from the point of view of design. I'm talking with my clients. I'm understanding what they want. I'm creating a flow through the spaces and details for them. And, so he's looking at the design, right? And so on the other hand, on the other side of it, the builder is grabbing a set of plans and looking through them for the information in order to build that, to build that house and those details and those assemblies for it, right? Well, there's a gap right there between the design and the construction. And it's a gap that is how do I build that? And that's the information we're providing, specifically how. So when we create this model, we can pull details for each and every assembly, and three-dimensional details in color are even better than two-dimensional details in black and white. A lot more, a lot easier to understand. We can pull together details that show specifically how and where all of this is supposed to go together. It's a roadmap that everybody can use.
So do you create documents? Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
create like PDF documents for SketchUp and put dimensions and everything on a sheet,
Oh
almost
yeah.
like an install drawing?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We start off. We set up our files um, with reference planes in it. And a lot of these homes now, these big luxury homes, they have an elevator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put a reference plane in the X and Y, ordinates right at that elevator because that's got to stack vertically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything in the project gets pulled from that XY axis right there. No chain dimensions because when you start chaining dimensions, it opens it opens you up to error, and so we will give dimensions off of those planes to everything. We actually go back once we've got everything dialed in. After we've gone back with the engineer and the architect and said, well, this doesn't look like it's going to work. What do you want to do here? And this, that, and the other thing. Go ahead and get all of that corrected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then, when say structural steel, when the fabricator sends in their shop drawings, we go through and redline their shop drawings by comparing it to the model. And so we mark up their shop drawings, give them different types of beams, lengths, connections, the whole 9 yards. Same thing with windows. We'll go through and adjust window sizes so that we know they'll fit in the wall, given all of the rest of the parameters that are going to building that wall. So yeah, it's just it's a wealth of information.
I think it's incredible you're out here against. I mean, there's a lot of architects out there using different types of programs, um, but SketchUp is not one that I think comes to my head right away for architecture. Right, ArchiCAD. Um, there's a bunch of other different ones. Vectorworks,
Mm-hmm.
Tekla. SketchUp is
Well, Tekla
one.
is a Trimble product as well.
Yeah, SketchUp comes up, and I think it's like 3D modeling. for like caricatures or really quick visualizations and like rapid visualization kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have a book that anyone else out there who wants to use SketchUp can learn from?
Well, there's a couple of books. Matt Donnelly is one of the authors with Nick Saunders, who is an architect. They put a book together. I believe it's SketchUp to Layout is the name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Well worth reading. Mike Brightman has written a book on SketchUp. That'd be another name to look up. John Brock. I think it's SketchUp for Contractors or something like that. But yeah, there's a number of books out there. And then again, I think to me, the resource of the SketchUp forums is absolutely key. You can go through and read that. There's a sizable handful of people that are on those forums, and I think they must keep them open all the time, right there on their computer when they're working. Because the moment I post a question, within an hour there's an answer coming back, and then there's a dialogue going on, and there's some people out there that are just so knowledgeable. There's one fella on the SketchUp forums, and I learned so much from that guy. It just blows my mind. There's was nothing that he didn't have an answer to. Very smart guy, no doubt about it. Very, very practiced. So, it's out there. It's not that hard to figure out. Just start doing it. Just tell your wife and kids goodbye for a month or two and just start working on it, and you'll do it. That's what I did.
So you and I have connected in the past, and a lot of times what I found inspiring from you is your excitement for the future of technology, just 3D modeling in general, seeing everything in 3D. So when we talk about a world where paper documents go away, or we're 3D modeling everything, do you see SketchUp being there still, or Autodesk, or different software coming into play?
Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I would certainly like to see SketchUp there because, it's what I know. I've spent so much time with it, and so much effort to learn it to the point I have. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of hours. I don't know. I wouldn't even hazard a guess, but I would like to see that. I think that I've never used Revit, so I don't really know how to compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting. There's plenty of people on the SketchUp forums that I talk to a lot, and a lot of them started with Revit. And they just thought, you know what, this is just way too complicated. And, so they actually transitioned over to SketchUp and find it just a whole lot easier to use and still provides them with all of the detailed results that they need. So, it's just, I think, Autodesk's marketing department would dwarf Trimble's or SketchUp's marketing department. I think that, if it was a game of baseball, I'm not sure that SketchUp would be able to field a full team. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's interesting. We've talked about laser scanning and stuff like that before. Remind me, is there a way to use laser scans in SketchUp?
Oh yeah, you can bring. You know what? I don't have any experience with it. I'm still looking for that first opportunity to do that. But I have read enough to know that you can bring in point clouds into SketchUp and create a model from it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually done that because there is. I'm trying to think. I had an insurance adjuster at one point I was talking to, and he would go in and take point clouds inside fire damage, I think is what he was looking at. Mm-hmm. And he sent me a file, and I don't know what format it was in, but I was able to import it into SketchUp, and then obviously you can start working from there. It gives you a guide, right?
Yeah, because I know some specific features in Revit that are really great. One is part of the Autodesk platform, and you would think that a lot of Autodesk would talk to Autodesk. So there's a lot of exports and imports you can do. For the most part, IFCs in general. I know you can export IFCs in SketchUp. What kind of data can you embed in the IFC? Because, I mean, IFCs are used all the time in Europe. That's their standard practice. They use IFC, use a third party to kind of put things together. Autodesk makes up maybe 10% of the market out there. But how does SketchUp use IFCs to export, and how do you get the data in there to read properly?
Well, okay, that's interesting and a good question. I've started to research it a number of times. I've never really had the opportunity to use it that much. I am able to, if I can get the architect or sometimes the steel detailer is working in Revit,
Mm-hmm.
they can export their model in IFC. I can bring that in and use it as a reference file. And I'm not sure exactly what the settings are on the Revit side for the export of the IFC file.
Mm-hmm.
Some come in better than others, and I don't know what the difference of between the one that does come in well and the one that doesn't. I'm not real sure what's going on their end to make that happen. But I've been able to do that. As far as exporting information, I don't think that the IFC, the level of the IFC, I'm not exactly sure how to even put this, but SketchUp seems to be a little bit behind on implementation of putting IFC information into or embedded into those objects.
Mm.
So I could be wrong about that. I know that, like I say, I've got, I embed information in it, but again, it, for the most part, it's just so that on the iPad, the guy out there can click on something and read information about that, the size of the
Right.
beam or whatever, right?
Right.
And so, to me, the translation between the files, I'm sure that's important, but I don't run into it that much.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I gotta say, SketchUp is probably one of those things that I've always wanted to learn but never picked up. And again,
Well,
the
we're
fact that
going
you
to
use
do that, right?
it, yeah, you have to teach me everything you know. That however many years
How
of
much
knowledge you
time do you
have.
have?
Yeah, yeah, not enough today, but we'll
Right.
definitely have to get together. Yeah, and if anyone out there wants to know more about SketchUp, especially in the AEC space, 100% contact Bob. Bob can be reached on LinkedIn, right? Anywhere else they can reach you, Bob?
Clearplanemodeling.com, of course, is the website. Contact information there. LinkedIn's probably real good. I think we're on Instagram as well, although I don't do that myself. But yeah, we do have an Instagram account from what I understand.
Awesome. And Bob, I'm gonna need you to read a book with all the information you know, or write a book with all the information you know, and then I'll take that and start learning some SketchUp from it.
I'm thinking of a series of video programs. It
There you
seems to be,
go.
people don't want to read anymore. I like to read, but people want to watch a video. I think for some reason.
If it's got big pictures, I'm in.
Yes, it's that attention span thing.
That's right. Bob, thanks for coming on. I do appreciate your time. This has been absolutely wonderful, and I hope everyone out there could be a little inspired by, Bob's story to pick up SketchUp and then now running his own business, ClearPlan, through it. So, Bob, thanks again for coming on. Much appreciated.
Absolutely, the pleasure is all mine. It was a whole lot of fun.